Woo!
Alright, thanks for tuning in. This is Stomper B. Thompin, and this is round 8 of the Virginia Championship Hare Scramble Series for the 2022 season. We are at Kairos Resort down near Glen Lynn, Virginia. And yeah, it's my first time here, and it's going to be a mud race, as you can tell. So we got some rain to start off with, but we all got to deal with it. I never actually raced in while it was raining. I've been on some mud races before, but so this is going to be interesting. Every time I'd wipe the goggles, all it would do is kind of smear the raindrops around. So I didn't know whether to just ditch the goggles at the start here, try them out later, or just keep them on. So I just kept them on and just kind of fought through the blurry vision for about the first lap.
I don't even know who the flag is.
But I did a decent job keeping the camera clear, so if you see a few splotches here and there, I wipe it off every now and then. There's Randall Ellis. And you can see here how slick it is. Already people are getting sideways in the second turn. So I'm just trying to get a feel for the ground, like what level of slop are we dealing with?
Okay, here we go, baby.
I think that's Joe Overstreet ahead of me there. So yeah, there was a decent variety of terrain out there. We had this kind of thick, sloppy mud in spots, but you also had some more like really slick, greasy, hard pack stuff too. And then there were a few sections that were surprisingly decent. I thought it was just going to be a total mud fest the whole time, and it turns out it was not that way. Well, I mean, it was slick and muddy the whole race. There goes Josh and then Jimmy. They're both in the class that starts right behind me, and they're fast. But yeah, look at that off-camber section where that rider just slipped up right there. If you got out of that rut on that downhill while traversing it, man, you didn't just lose traction in your rear tire, your front would start to slide as well. So, like tire placement, throttle control, at least for me, were really important. So this is the morning group, so we're all C-Class riders. And I'm on a 2022 KTM 300 XCW for reference. Here's a little rock garden. This is kind of interesting. The rocks were just big enough to slow you down, and of course slick enough to really make you pay attention. 3 laps and I never did that quite good. Oh, that's a tough spot to get out of back there. Man, you get off that ledge and on that downhill, that's really tough to get the bike back up on top. I'm running tubliss, so I've got about 6.5 pounds of air pressure in the rear tire and about 10 up front. I feel bad for anybody who forgot to air down though. A couple of spots where it got really slick out there. first lap, trying to get a feel for it. We just got off about a 7-week break here, maybe 7-8 weeks summer break. So the series has resumed with this race. And lap 1, this was about the only little bottleneck section here, and it didn't last very long either. Maybe I sat and waited for maybe 15 seconds. Yeah, tricky little uphill right there. That outside line was better, but obviously occupied by that rider. So, had to take that inside route, which was easy if you had a little head of steam. You just had that big root sticking out. Complicated things. So, I'm trying to work in a pass around this rider here. Not really finding a good spot to do it, but watch this here.
Woo! Oh, good pass, good pass.
Yeah, nice pass right at the end there. So I'm just hanging with these two. Again, first lap, still getting a feel for it. I don't know the track, and I've never even ridden this resort before. Couple downhills like this one here that got pretty steep and pretty slick. The rain did eventually let off at the end of the first lap for me, and it started to pick back up on the second lap. But that time between was nice, but all those downhills stayed pretty slick the whole day. So I just try and hang with this guy for a little while. Doesn't last very long. Yeah, and down here there's a kind of a muddy corner, and this inside line is nice and neat. Not very deep, but it doesn't stay that way very long. It gets chewed out pretty good. Just had to have steady throttle on those uphills. Yeah, I made that hill harder than it had to be. Going through that little ditch, just kind of lost momentum. Probably wasn't in the right gear for it. Had to clutch up that hill. Look at this. Is this the rut? Yeah. Oh, that rut was so deep, and that was only lap 1. Not sure why, but I hit it every single time. Normally, I'm pretty good about remembering where those trouble spots are and how to avoid them every lap. But for whatever reason, I hit that rut every lap. Oh, and it gets real bad towards the end. It starts fighting back. But yeah, look at this. The sun's starting to peek out towards the end of lap 1. Maybe 2/3 of the way through. But you can just tell by watching this would be a wonderful course on like a good weather day. It looks fast and flowy, and you can hit these downhills so much faster. Lap 1, I'm taking it pretty easy too, because I don't know the lines, I don't know the hills and stuff. So this hill gave a lot of people problems. You just had to have a good amount of momentum going into it. And it sounds funny because water got into the microphone. So yeah, that happens throughout the whole ride. But yeah, where water gets in the microphone, it just makes it sound funny here and there. But yeah, that hill was giving people problems. I did just fine my first 2 laps, but it gets me on my 3rd lap. Just had to have the momentum. A lot of these little ravine crossings go right into some pretty nice uphills. Again, I didn't quite have the momentum, having to clutch up some of that stuff. Another little climb. Not very hard, but a lot steeper than it looks on camera.
Inside, let's go!
Yeah, thanks for the tip. That outside line was definitely pretty soupy through there. I don't want none of that. But yeah, can you believe it? First lap, I didn't fall a single time. And there's Dexter. But yeah, I didn't fall a single time on my first lap, and I let them little thoughts creep into my head, like, oh man, could this be the race that I don't crash a single time? What am I gonna do for my intros? But don't worry, laps 2 and 3, plenty of it. Just creeping by, trying to not run into them. But yeah, I passed Dexter right before the finish, or right before the scoring. He and I had our lap times for lap 1 and 2 were so close, they were within seconds of each other, but his third lap, he definitely beat me by about a couple minutes, because I started getting sloppy out there. Yeah, I remember this spot being extra slick.
Thank you!
Tricky little section through here. That's such a tough spot to be caught up. And I went about as slow as you could possibly go through there without losing momentum to the point of coming to a stop. Really want to hit that with more speed, probably standing up too, but I get lazy here and there. A couple of these nice just kind of coasters, coasting downhill for quite a ways. I took it easy down those too because I didn't want to fall out of that rut. Second time through the rock garden, I never did that pretty a single time. But I got through without getting hung up, so I'll take that. Just reminded myself to breathe through there. Pick a rut, any rut. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I think my helmet actually got snagged by that branch, and it just kind of threw me off, so I gotta sink back down into this ravine, get some weight on the rear tire, and shove up out of there. Yeah, that was a weird little section. This is where that bottleneck was on that first lap. No issues if you got it wide open. Decent through here. Off camber, a little sketchy. So I did pretty terrible as far as where I kind of normally place. Mud races just aren't my thing, but I love them though. They're tons of fun. They're super challenging in a really fun way, so I like that part of it. There's that inside line getting more and more chewed out. But some people did just fine through here. They light on the feet, dancing right through. So I can definitely get a lot faster in the mud. And I feel a lot better than I did last time, so getting there.
Yep.
Yep, I hear you.
I got you.
I had passed her in that little muddy rutted section, but I knew she was faster than me. So I was just waiting for the holler or the engine rev. Oh, come on, baby. Stay with it. I almost didn't air down my rear tire too. I was headed to the starting line. I turned around, went back, and took out about 5 or 6 psi. So second time through that deep rut, and I got hung up and tipped over. If I had just kind of committed standing up, I probably would have made it through, but because you can see I hopped on and made it right through. But lap 3, you can start to see, and I catch it on camera, where people's foot pegs have started to chew it out. So it's almost impassable. Oh yeah, I remember that. It's like 15 feet before that little tree. I go from like a seating position to a standing position, and I just chose a really bad spot to do it. I got off balance, which threw off my corner. So I just bumped into that tree. I don't know, Bill. Yeah, I was already committed to this rut.
Are you good? Keep working at it. Keep working.
All I meant by that was just keep working on that front tire. And don't apologize. You got hung up in a rut. Who cares? It happens. It's up to the other riders to get around. But I hear you. So I'm still feeling pretty good. Couple light tip overs so far. Arm pump, not really too much of a problem at all. Really, my problems are just kind of maintaining momentum and trust. See, like things like that. I hit that downhill a little too hard, probably grabbed a little bit too much front brake, and just had a little washout. So Dexter passes me right there in the black and yellow. And I'm stalling out and stuff. Gotta regroup, regather, refocus. Here we go. I cut out a lot of sections where I was just kind of riding alone. There were some faster spots through here, and if I'm like pulling over and letting someone by, which, you know, happened quite a bit. But I didn't do every hill climb slow. When you actually hit it with some momentum and you got your eyes up looking up the hill, you can do all right. So here's second time through this big hill that gave people problems. And if you hit it with enough momentum, which I had barely enough here, as you can see, you can make it. It's also still pretty dry. The rain's like just restarting now. Yep. It's actually time to ditch these. They're so bent up and cockeyed on the bike now. I'm getting a new set. So I go to grab my drink tube here, and I never opened up the valve on it. So you got to do this little twist valve thing, which isn't very hard. You can do it with 2 hands in about a half of a second. But it's really tough to do with one hand riding a dirt bike in the woods when it's slick. So I'm like, all right, no water. Maybe next time I tip over, I'll turn the valve back on. I just remember thinking like, oh man, as I'm trying to suck water through that straw. But just fishtailing everywhere. And a lot of these deep ruts had wet, slippery roots in them. But feeling good. Couple tip overs, nothing too crazy. So there's 2 laps done. Starting the third. The winners in this group ended up doing 4 laps. But I only got 3 before they threw the checkered. Oh, yeah. So you really, it was quite a significant drop off there. You really wanted to like float your front end, but you're trying to do that in that thick, slippery mud. So kind of goofed that up a little bit, but kept her on 2 wheels. So here's a little tricky section. I didn't know whether to go left or right. They took the inside lane, and I probably just should have taken that, because I got all wonky coming up there. And I'm trying to get my legs back up on the pegs. And I'm fighting traction. Someone's trying to pass. I think those types of hill climbs are where I can make up time in the mud races for sure. Third time through the rocks.
Let's go, you got it.
Stall it right in front of him. Come on, baby, come on. Whew. Taking a breather. Reminding myself to breathe. So here's Dexter. His bike must have gotten really tired, so he let it take a quick nap. No, but so I passed him right there. So this is lap 3, and again, his overall time was better than mine by about 2 minutes and change. So somewhere on this, well, you'll see I start really getting sloppy, but he makes up a couple minutes on me. So he had a really good third lap. Man, I kind of went the opposite direction. But you can just imagine how much fun this course would be in really good conditions. Fast and flowy, lots of elevation change. That's really my favorite type of course. Oh yeah, this is where I get real sloppy. So I stall it, I restart, I just run right into that tree. I can't remember if I like didn't see it, or if a rut took me that way or what. But those little get-offs, they cost you a lot in energy. Having to bend over, pick up the bike. You know, then your hands get muddy too. I'm like, all right. So I just kind of trudge up this hill instead of attacking it. Yeah, it's the fatigue is setting in a little bit, having to fight all that mud, but everyone's doing it. And right there, that little diagonal route that kind of pushed you into that tree, that snagged my boot and forced it to unbuckle in a spot, so my right boot's just kind of feels really loose on me. So I got that going on as part of this third lap too. But yeah, everyone's fighting the fatigue, fighting the same conditions. Honestly, I kind of love it. But yeah, me and this Kawasaki rider, I was yelling, "You're good, you're good," because me and that Kawasaki rider kept on going back and forth. I tried looking at the number plate right there. Didn't see it. But we had a really good back and forth section for like probably a lap and a half. I lose momentum on the hill climb, and they end up passing me again right there anyways. Man, the clutch packs on these KTMs are pretty durable, I'll say that. Third time through, look at that. You can see where the foot pegs have been scraping out that rut. That thing was a momentum killer. Big time. So you can hear the fan kicking on there. My fan ran a lot that third lap. So I took a break, buckled up my boot, kind of regathered myself after that, wiped the camera. And the rain's been picking up again, so things are starting to get slick.
You're welcome.
Some of these sections there's so yeah, random tip over. At least I tipped over to the left this time.
She's slick.
She's slick, yep. So speaking of the variety, like you had that thick kind of like soupy mud in spots. Of course, you had plenty of big ruts like this that I love stalling out in. So this stuff. I think I found out where Dexter got us 2 minutes on me. It's because I kept on doing dumb stuff like that. But yeah, speaking of the variety of the terrain, you had sections like this right here where it was a really hard packed trail underneath. Maybe not right here. This isn't a good example. That mud hole was really soupy. My front tire's totally caked up. Take a deep breath. Let a few riders go. And believe it or not, I'm hoping for a fourth lap. I don't get it. Because originally they thought the leaders would do 5 laps, which it meant I know normally means for me I might get 4. On a great day for me, I might get 5. But yeah, she tips over right ahead of me, and I don't have the energy to even try and find a route right now after fighting that mud puddle back there. Yeah, so here's a good example of where it was really hard pack and very greasy. So there wasn't really much to grip onto. So the bike was, even your front tire, just kind of slip sliding all over the place in some of these spots. But it made it fun. So here's my third time up this huge hill climb, and right there I lose a bunch of momentum, which doomed me. I'm just hoping to catch a little burst of grip to get that up and over that final hip. But I don't make it. Yeah, I lost a little momentum at the bottom trying to get around that person, and so now I'm debating, do I pick the bike up and go back down? Or do I see a spot with some traction right there. And there goes the Kawasaki. They made it up that hill nice and fine. But yeah, that hill was slick. If you didn't hit it with momentum, you were not gonna make it. I'm just going so slow, trying to not tip over. My tires are just caked full of mud right now. Got to pick up some speed and clear them out. Just fishtailing everywhere. So yeah, Josh laps me.
Get it, Josh! He's lapped me.
So Josh is on the line behind me, and so he just lapped me.
Lapped me. That means Jimmy's coming soon.
Yep. Josh and Jimmy are pretty close in overall speed for their average lap times at most races, so I know if I see Josh, well, Jimmy's not far behind. So this rider got caught up. I think that's the same Kawasaki. Got caught up in that deep rut, and I'm just trying to ease my way over here to the right without falling over, because you don't want to commit to that same rut, because then you're just sitting there. It really was a fun race. I was humbled. It was challenging. I enjoyed the heck out of it. And I got a little bit better at mud racing. But I'm not done crashing. I got one more coming up here. So at this point in the race, I waved this rider on, just kind of track with them for a while. But at this point in the race, my handlebars are solid, dead straight. No bends or anything, or like my steering stem, like everything's in alignment. But I have one little tip over into this tree. It was pretty soft, but it was enough to tweak something. So I don't know if my handlebars are bent, the mounts, or if it's like in my steering stem. So I gotta take a look at that. But yeah, it's coming up right after this right, left, right. Yeah, so I got this right, left, right here. So hitting that tree tweaked something. So I've yet to figure that out. But I see Jimmy, I'm holding him up because I'm kind of blocking the only real easy way through. So I jump up to get my bike up and out of the way, but he found a way around. Yeah, it's pretty bad when you're getting lapped. You don't want to be doing that. But yeah, great race. I had a lot of fun. Looking forward to the next one. Thanks for watching, everybody.